Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Short Term Rentals with the amazing Tijani. How are you
Yes,
doing,
I
TJ?
am doing great. Thank you so much for having me. It means a lot to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
And
I'm
we
doing
are
great.
super grateful to have you as our coach and mentor in
Yeah,
short term rentals. I mean,
yeah.
not a lot of people know about these amazing investment strategies, so we are so excited to get to know you a little bit better. So, speaking of that, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, yes. And it's interesting because, my journey into real estate, I didn't anticipate being in this short-term rental space.
Oh, wow.
So I am one, came an immigrant family. I don't even know if I'm first generation. I think I'm zero generation.
Oh,
I
wow.
was born in Nigeria. I came here to the United States, Houston, H-Town specifically, when I was 8 years old. And so coming here when I was 8 years old, it was tough. As you can imagine, you come from a place to where everybody looks like you and everybody talks like you and the hair looks like you and just probably just as ashy as you are. And then you come over here and then it was like who the heck are you? Like you're this alien and people are judging you and wondering like, now it's like, well, you're this different person. And so it was a lot of adjustment that had to be made. And
Mhm.
so myself and my four siblings, I'm the first in my family to go to college. And it wasn't that we were afforded the ability to go to college. We didn't have any money to go to college, but I really wanted to because at the time, which I guess kind of still bodes me well now, but at the time, college was like the goal. Like it was like,
Right.
you go to college, that's like what the goal is. And I wanted to study architecture at first. And
Oh,
that's what
wow.
I thought I wanted to do. And I ended up putting myself through college. And what's interesting is that for somebody like me who came from a family who wasn't fortunate at all from a
Mhm.
financial perspective, we should have qualified for the maximum financial aid, right? So we qualified for the max, but we couldn't get any. And I couldn't get any
Oh,
because I
wow.
wasn't a citizen, right? And
Oh,
that was
man.
the issue. And so, but because I went to a Texas accelerated high school, I was able to pay in-state tuition because they wanted me to pay out-of-state tuition
Oh,
at the University of
wow.
Houston. Now, I got into every college I applied to because I was top 5% of my class in high
That's a
school.
clapper moment right there.
You
Super
know what
smart
I'm saying?
man right here.
So and I was really good at mathematics. And so I got into every college I applied to, but I wanted to go to the University of Houston because it was a great school and I got a chance to be close to home, to stay close to home, help my mom. And so when I got in, they said, oh, you're in, but you got to pay out-of-state tuition. I'm like, well, out-of-state tuition is 3 times the amount of
Oh my
in-state tuition.
gosh.
I didn't
Wow.
even know how I was going to pay in-state tuition. So they wanted me to pay out-of-state. And so it took one person. This is why it's always important. Sometimes it can be just one person to change trajectory of the course of your life and your journey. And this one person, I had a talk with him. He came to our school because I was in a college prep course. When you take AP classes and
Mhm.
advanced classes, they put us in this college prep program. And a guy named Mr. Woodson, he came and spoke at our school. And he was from the University of Houston. That's how I knew I wanted to go
Oh,
to U of
wow.
H because he was talking up so much about the school. Then we took a class trip to the school. And when we
Oh,
took the
wow.
class trip, I said, okay, I'm coming to this campus. And so I told him, I said,
Mhm.
Mr. Woodson, I got in, I want to go to school, but I can't afford it. Here's my situation. And it was scary because my mom told us, don't tell anybody about our situation. Like you don't tell people what we go through. And so I took a chance and I said, Mr. Woodson, my mom told me not to tell you this, but this is the situation. And so he said, man, I had never had anybody talk to me and have with this much ambition before. So he was the one who I sat down with, and he was able to get me paid in-state tuition at the
Oh,
University of
wow.
Houston. And so I was super grateful for that. But of course, that's half the battle. The other half of the battle is how I'm still going to pay for college, right? So I signed up. My mom was like, how are you going to school? How are you going to pay for college? And sometimes it's hard not to talk in an accent when I talk about my mom. I tell people, what are you going to do? I still, I tell my mom's the best human being on the planet. We're this close. Like I tell people, she is amazing, amazing. Watching her sacrifice as much as she did literally helped mold me into the man that I am today. And so it was an interesting time because then I was signing up for orientation and I was signing up for classes. My mom was, how are you signing up for these classes? How are we going to pay? I said, don't worry about it, Mom. We'll figure this thing out. And so I went to the financial aid office and I said, hey,
Mhm.
what can we do? If I can't go here because of money, okay, that's fine. But just what can we do? And how does this tuition work? They said, well, your tuition is due before class starts because
Mhm.
we got to get our money. But you can defer your tuition payments to the end of the semester, but we just have to charge you interest.
Oh,
And I said,
man.
Okay, how much interest? They said 5% interest. And being good at math, I was like, okay, 5% isn't that bad. I think we can make that work. How I'm gonna pay for it, I don't know. But okay, let's go ahead and defer the tuition. And they deferred it, and I signed up for classes. Then I got a job working at Foot Action. I was the best worker at that store. And so I worked at that store. I held on to that job as long as I could, of course, as you can imagine. And then being so good at math, I was able, and because I went to U of H, I was able to get another job teaching mathematics on campus to my college peers. I was teaching college algebra, math, calculus, and business calculus to my college peers. I got so good at that they gave me my own classroom to teach this, right? And so I'm just grateful. All this stuff, I'm putting all the money away. I'm putting money away. And then at the end of the semester, I would pay my tuition. And I did that for 6 years, working full time, then put myself through college. And that's how I was able to graduate with a mechanical engineering degree with a mathematics minor. And I landed it. And then literally shortly after that, I was able to get my green card and become a citizen. And so then I was able to get my full-time job, and I worked as an engineer for 5 years. And so I know we're talking about real estate, not my journey, how I got into real estate. One of my good buddies, one of my fraternity brothers, he gave me a book. And he said, bro, I watched you hustle throughout college. You should read this book. And of course, you can probably guess what book that is. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So it's the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And at the time, I was working offshore, working out in the rigs and the subsea installation vessels. And so I took the book with me offshore. I couldn't put it down. I read it twice in 3 weeks. In that 3-week hitch, I was like, man, get me off this boat right now. I need to go buy some assets ASAP. I knew then that I was going to be in real estate. I knew I was going to do real estate. I started setting out a goal to start buying assets. And as amazing as my degree is, as crazy as that journey was to get that degree, you couldn't tell me I wasn't going to be a VP or running some engineering company one day. But I knew just months into my career that it wasn't for me. I wanted to carve my own path. And so I set out a goal. I wanted 10 rental properties, and I was going to leave my full-time job. 10 single family traditional rental properties. That was my goal. Well, June 1st, 2017, I was laid off. When I was laid off, I had 5 rental properties. For folks who don't know, I was working oil and gas, and oil and gas, the market is quite finicky. Like the oil and gas market isn't always great. When the price of oil is over $100 a barrel, everybody's happy, everybody's eating. Price of gas is a little bit high, but the market is great, right? In terms of workers and people working offshore. But when the price drops, then people are in trouble. This is where people start losing their job. And so at the time when I was laid off, the price dropped to about $42 a barrel. But at the time it was costing about $46 a barrel to build and produce crude oils and hydrocarbons from subsea, which was what I did. And so they said, man, TJ, we just, when it's 42, but the price, when it's costing 42, but the price to drill is 46, nobody's drilling. And so then they said, well, Tita, we don't have enough projects to support the engineers on the team, and we got to let you go. So that's why I was laid off. And so when the day I was laid off, 78 people were laid off that day. And that was June 1st, 2017. And I said, okay, well, I'm going all in the real estate. I am about to be the entrepreneur out here, Mr. King Real Estate, right? And so then I started falling on my head. I did one flip deal, didn't go well. I did another flip deal, didn't go well. And so then I came across a video about doing short-term rentals. And in my research to do market research, 'cause I was gonna do more wholesale deals, more creative deals, I came across a video about how short-term rentals can make you more money than traditional rentals. And I said, okay, I had a single family house that I was rehabbing at the time that I was going to add to my traditional rental portfolio. And so I said, let me try this Airbnb thing on this one house. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. I spent $14,000 to furnish this house. I thought I was in way over my head. I remember standing up, seeing all the boxes. I'm putting furniture together. I bought a drill. I'm screwing stuff. I'm putting furniture together. I stand in there. I'm saying, man, what the heck am I doing? I am in over my head, boxes everywhere, furniture pieces everywhere. But I got it done, made it happen, and I listed that property in December 2017. The day I listed, I had no bookings coming that day. I just had an inquiry. But my excitement from that one inquiry was insane. Yes, it's ready. Book it, it's ready, it's ready. But I had no bookings that day. But what's dope was I woke up the next day with 2 confirmed bookings. So I did the math. And I ran the numbers. And I said, man, if I were to, even at 50% occupancy, and at the price point that I was at, because at the price point I was at wasn't even market, was below market, because I was trying to get people in there. So I said, even at this price point, at 50% occupancy, I'm still looking to, at minimum, 2x what I would make as a traditional rental. And so this is what made the short-term rental strategy sink in for me and became a no-brainer. Then I went crazy when I learned that you didn't even have to own these assets. You don't have to own it. You can just rent it.
Oh, wow.
And you can run this play. I said, okay, let's run a play. And that's how I started scaling my short-term rental business. I started implementing the same strategies that I was using to buy my traditional real estate, buying them distressed, leveraging private money, buying them low, buying them ugly and low, making them beautiful, refinancing them. But instead of putting a traditional renter in there, I'll just turn to a short-term rental. And so that's how I started scaling my business. I will buy these assets, single family, 2 to 4 units, do this rehab model on it. While I was rehabbing it, start renting apartments and other properties from other landlords, furnishing them to make them short-term rentals. And so I would own some, I would rent some, and that's how I was able to scale my business. And that's how I got to where I am today.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. And like, how big would you say your portfolio is at the moment?
Oh yeah, so right now we have 32 doors. 32
Oof.
doors, which we own most of them. And what's cooler though is that, our business model now is kind of shifting. So right now, we are not picking up units or properties that if I'm picking up an arbitrage deal, I'm not going into a landlord, a single family house or an apartment complex and then, hey, I want 1 or 2. We're picking up multiple if it's an arbitrage play. Hey, I want 10. We'll take your floor. Right?
Oh, wow.
Either that or with the assets that we're looking at now to purchase now, we're not buying a single family to make them short-term rentals anymore, nor are we buying a 2 to 4 units. We started a boutique hotel brand. So now we're targeting assets, 15 doors and above, 15 to 50 doors is the sweet spot. We're buying these assets the same way we would any apartment, the same way we would. But instead of making it an apartment complex, we just rent it as a hotel instead. So we're turning it into a boutique hotel instead, and that's our boutique hotel model. So our business model right now has changed. We want multiple units in one location. That's the business model now, and that's where we're at.
And I feel like it does attract a lot of people because mostly I see families traveling together. So yeah, that's a really big population that you're targeting.
Oh, 100%.
And within your experience in your career during short-term rentals, what is the most important lesson or one of the most important lessons that you have learned?
Man, so I would tell people, and I think one of the most important lessons in this game is to understand what the value is in this game, in this business model. In this business model of short-term rentals, the value is not in Airbnb. It's not. It's not in Booking.com or VRBO or any of these OTAs. When I say OTAs, people, I'm talking about online travel agencies. These are your booking platforms. These are what we consider OTAs. Now, the value is not in OTAs. Yes, we make money from Airbnb. We make money from Booking.com and these VRBO and Expedia, these OTAs that we list on. But that's not where the value is. The value is in the infrastructure that you build out. The value is in the structure, your systems and your automation and your outsourcing and your tools. And that's where the value is because it is in the infrastructure that allows me the same amount of time to run and manage 5 beds is the same amount of time it takes me to run and manage 55 plus beds. It's because of the infrastructure and the team that you have built out. And so I tell people, understand that the best hosts right now are focused on a foundational base because the means of acquisition is different, whether you can buy them to purchase to make them short-term rentals, or you can arbitrage them, rent them, or you can manage them. You can run it. You can just facilitate somebody else's right to run the business. You can manage somebody else's short-term rental property and collect 20 to 30% of the top line revenue. That's another way to get into the game. And so out of those 3 main strategies, those acquisition strategies are different, but the means of execution is the same. You need the same team. You need the same systems. It's the same infrastructure. This is why I can manage my own, or I can manage one night arbitrage. Now, this is why we are now adding another leg to our company. So now we're managing other people's short-term rental properties because I never wanted to do that. I only wanted to manage our own. But our systems are so down-packed, and our systems and our infrastructure, we've been working on that, and we're so dialed in on it that now we can manage other people's, right? And still generate additional revenue that way. So if you do it the right way, you can make money and get into this game multiple ways as long as the infrastructure is set up properly. That's why I tell people this is the most important thing. And understanding that the value isn't just, just putting up a property up on Airbnb. That's why I tell people, if you're wanting to just put up a property on Airbnb to make money, I'm not the coach for you. I'm looking for people who want to grow a legitimate short-term rental business that's going to withstand the test of time. That's what it's about.
That's amazing. And yeah, then again, like I feel like not a lot of people know about short-term rentals because usually investors are like, oh yeah, let's do single family housing. But that's it. But thank you so much again for
Yeah,
opening our eyes to more opportunities of investment. And I
absolutely.
also remember how you mentioned having a team.
Yeah.
So for people that are looking to build that team, any piece of advice that you could give them?
Well, I'll tell you what right now, even with your very beginning, say somebody wants to get started in this business, in the business of short-term rentals, I'll tell you two things you can automate right away that'll save you probably 70% of your time. Automate your pricing. Understand? This is one of the ways that Airbnb ranks you, as a matter of fact. One of the biggest metrics is that they use to determine how high you rank in search engine optimization is your pricing. Are you one that prices your units that is stagnant or is it fluctuating? You got to price it and think about the way hotels price their units. This is how you want to price your units. Prices should be fluctuating. Your prices on a Monday should not be the same price on a Saturday. Matter of fact, your price on January should not even be the same price in May. So your prices should be what we call dynamic, and it should adjust to your market depending on what seasons or what months are hot in your particular marketplace. So the way we do that, we bring in pricing, dynamic pricing softwares and technology that we use in our business to help automate that entire process. Another reason why this is important is because Airbnb loves attentive hosts. When your prices fluctuate, they look at you as attentive, meaning that, okay, he's going in there changing his prices to adjust. So when you just have a flat fee, or maybe you have a fee on a weekday and a fee on the weekend, that's still not dynamic enough. Because then Airbnb and these OTAs, they'll look at you as like, well, they just set it and forget it. Like they're not even paying attention to their listing. They just leave it there. That's the way they see it. But when your prices change, they look at you as somebody who's attentive, somebody who cares. That's why they give you an SEO boost. So dynamic pricing is one. You can automate that process even at the very beginning with technology. Another thing is your guest communications. Communicating with your guests is one of the most time-consuming things. And this is a lesson that I had to learn the hard way. Even with just 2 listings, I was on my phone consistently, always responding to messages, always confirming a booking or responding to an inquiry. And so because of this takes up a lot of your time. Now, once you automate that process, if you get like what we call guest communication or guest automation or concierge services in a way, as whenever something happens, whether it's just an inquiry, whether it's a booking, whether it's a request to book, you should be responding to those things as fast as humanly possible. And that keeps your response rate high. Matter of fact, these OTAs, this is so important that the OTAs go as far as actually rank you. Like they give you a score based on your response rate. So you want to make sure your response rate score is at 100%. If you set this up properly, your response rate will stay at 100%, which will keep you relevant and save you a whole lot of time. Those are 2 things you can do right away to save you at least 70% of the time in this business.
And at the same time, it gives a really good perspective of how good of a host you are.
100%.
And it definitely ensures you to have way more clients along the way.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much again. And TJ, we're super excited to keep learning more about short-term rentals. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.
Tap in.